This is the talk of Music City Real Estate.
SuperTalk 99.7 WTN, the talk of Music City Real Estate.
Where we educate and motivate all things real estate.
Monte Mohr here with Realty One Group Music City.
Hey, and it's Carey Ann with CMG Financial and my mortgage team. And welcome back. It's Sunday evening.
Hey, Carey Ann, so good to see you.
So good to see you. Yes, it's the end of the month. I cannot believe it's already the end of April.
It's kind of a crazy time for you guys in your business, isn't it? Getting things wrapped up at the end of the month, or is every day
Well,
crazy?
you know, it used to be. Mm-hmm. Now everybody wants to close and purchase any day of the month. So
Right.
It used to be we were excited for the first of the month because we could take a little break, but that's not the case here in Nashville, Tennessee.
That's right. Things are hopping
Things
still.
are booming and people are excited to move here. What is the statistic? So many people are moving here every day?
I've heard anything from 65 to 100, I think it ranges a little bit.
Yeah,
There.
it's crazy, which is a great thing.
Per day. That's per day.
Per day?
Yeah.
I just hope they're not on the same roads as I.
Yes.
At the same
I think
time.
they were on the way in here today, I think. It's a little crazy out there.
Well, it doesn't matter what time of the day or what day, right? It's booming, and I think we've made the local news so many times, not local news, the national news, right? With
It's the place to be.
Yeah, the draft. And I guess they're saying now we are the number one bachelorette location.
Really?
Yeah, we're just moving on up and all those fun activities here. It's
Wow.
funny when I go down, I love living in the country with the cows. They were mooing over here.
Really?
Aubrey always wants to.
You live near cows?
I drive by
you drive
cows,
by
yeah,
cows.
and some bulls and
Okay.
some horses and stuff. Nor I would not be able to have them myself. That's a lot of work.
Yes, that's a lot of work.
But we count them and we love to see them all the time. But sometimes I get out, put my hair down and going to go to the city, every once in a while to go to dinner or whatever. And I just laugh, it's just hilarious. There is now cars that they've taken, or trucks, they've taken the roofs off of them. Fire trucks, I think that they've taken the roofs off of them. And they've added pools, they've added turf, they've added all kinds of flair. No.
Cruising around Nashville here?
Yes, you can jump on for $500. I'll take you around in my, pickup. I think there's even a tractor, maybe. I don't know.
Well, I've seen the pedal bar.
Pedal bike. So let me tell you about the pedal bike experience. Now that we're coming up to my sister's big 40th here in a few days. Yes. And so we're headed to Chicago. She's a big baseball fan, and they love the Cardinals and the Red Sox in their house. So we are headed to go see some baseball games.
Wow.
I offered Grand Cayman Islands. She went to Chicago for baseball games.
Kidding.
So that's where we're going. But thinking about a past birthday experience that I gave her, maybe when she turned 30, but I rented one of those pedal bikes. I thought this would be kind of cool. And we wrapped it with flair and fun and all that stuff. And I think because that was so many years back that they weren't motorized. And on this pedal bike, you get to have a beverage or two, maybe 5 or
You're talking about the
10.
pedal bar or pedal bike?
Oh,
there's a bar.
There's a bar, yeah, but you have to pedal.
Right.
But after they have a beverage or two, do you think that they're pedaling?
No, everybody's
So
cheating.
I am the sober one of the group, and I'm making sure we're all handled. And I think I'm the only one pedaling this bike. And oh, by the
Probably.
way, do you know how many hills there are downtown?
There's a couple down there. Yeah.
There's quite a few. So it made for. So I was laughing because I paid my $500, whatever it was, to die of sweat and be in pain, right? As everybody enjoyed. I think now it's motorized, and they.
I think they lost a lot of takers when they found out after one triple like that.
Oh yes, but my question is, what fun activity are we going to come up with to try to sell downtown? I mean, it's crazy to go down there. So lots of tourists, a lot of fun. And that's what makes Nashville so great, for sure. I love it.
That's for sure. Hey, before we go too far past driving past the cows and the livestock and so forth, how's Johnny and June?
Johnny and June. Hey, you know what? They've never been back.
They haven't?
No, they have not been back. I had these.
They just came in one time and went for a swim.
I know, but they were here last year. So I have 2 ducks that we called named Johnny and June because maybe they broke up because it was a love affair, and they would have their sunset cruise in my pool or my sunrise cruise in the pool and then go walk around. But yeah, that's crazy. And now that you say that, I haven't seen them back. So maybe it's a good thing, because I think you referenced they really shouldn't be hanging out in my pool if I'm going to be swimming there.
Well, they're going to have, they're usually looking for a place to camp out and have some babies and so forth, which would be awesome, seeing those little baby peepers swimming across your pool.
Let me tell you, I'm not in the country, but I sometimes think I am. So all of a sudden, I'm looking around and I look outside and I see stripes. And I'm like, that's not a good sign if I see stripes. So it's not a tiger, but it was a raccoon. Is there stripes on a raccoon? Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah. Well, there was enough that made me question, what is this large creature that is climbing up, the outdoor area? So being ones that we want to get the healthy traps, what's called live traps, right?
Live traps.
So put healthy trap. I don't know.
I guess the other kind are certainly not healthy, so that would be healthy.
I guess so, yeah. So put the live trap out there and expecting to catch this raccoon. And again, it must have been a mama raccoon. So I was fearful that someone was going to give birth in, the outdoor area or whatever.
Right.
And so clink, 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 and here we go. We caught something.
Oh, no.
And it was not a raccoon. It wasn't a duck either, but it was a massive, massive pharaoh cat.
Really?
A huge cat. It was like it was stuffed in there, but he was eager to get, the food. So it didn't get the raccoon, but now you have this cat in a live trap.
How'd you get him out of there?
And, by the way, decide to urinate everywhere.
Oh,
the thing of cat. So it was just going downhill. I was trying to do something good and it went downhill.
Disgusting.
Yeah. So we had to go to the, where do you take the cats when you catch them lively? Down to the, I don't know.
The pound? Cat
somewhere.
Pound? I don't know.
There was some place that was kindly able to take the cat. But
good.
I have not found the raccoon. And guess what else has arrived? The carpenter bee.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know about a carpenter bee.
Those do a lot of damage to homes out there.
Are you required to tell me that it could snow in my backyard? Like if I buy this house, I didn't even know what was going on. Why is it snowing?
Yeah.
Like there's stuff. Why is it summer and there's things coming from the ceiling? And then
have you looked at the holes those guys can drill? They're perfectly round. It's amazing.
They are amazing. But if you don't plan ahead and you want to call the carpenter bee terminator, I don't even know what they're called, but it costs you a lot of money. It's like a pest control. It's called like $1,000+.
You're kidding.
It was crazy. And then they spray, and keep in mind, it's like a horror film, because all of a sudden then there's these massive bees, right, that are huge all over, and they're dead, all over, but you still have all of the holes, right? And so did that one year, but didn't know what was happening. It's crazy. So then went on the YouTube, like the net. Yeah, and decided how are we going to try to capture these. So we got out the mason jars and started making our own carpenter bee traps, which is interesting. And you can collect so many of these carpenter bees because they think that they're going up in holes that they've already created and then burrowing up there, and then they get trapped and fall into the mason jar. It's really interesting.
Wow.
So you could YouTube it if you want.
Boy, this is great information. It's the same price. I don't think we're not charging extra for this additional information.
I'm learning all kinds of things living in my house, but what I'm trying to say is I didn't know about, because I lived in a hardy plank home, which was a cement home, even though it looks like wood.
Right.
I didn't understand when you buy a home that's really wood in Tennessee that there are these bugs that, can, take control, take over.
They're very a smart bee. It's incredible how smart they are.
Oh, yeah. It's insane. Amazing. So you can learn how to spray, your backyard yourself, or hire a really good, pest control company. So we've learned to be besties with them.
We've got some great questions again tonight. And I don't see anybody asking about bees, but hopefully now we've got that question answered.
Yes, we do have some great questions. And remember, if you have any questions or topic suggestions, do not hesitate to reach us at questions@talkmusiccity.com or hashtag us at talkmusiccity.
Again, our whole goal here, as you know, Carey Ann, is to bring, clarity to the real estate topic of getting a mortgage or buying a home or selling a home, taking the mystery out of the experience so that folks feel empowered, and to also share the knowledge base coming from thousands of transactions and experiences that we've been blessed enough to have over the years. So So we've got one good question here. Let me just share for a second. Do you mind if I read Cindy's question from Nashville?
Yes, read Cindy's question.
So Cindy says, we are considering buying a new home in a brand new development that has just started breaking ground. We've been warned by some friends, though, that doing so can be risky. What are your thoughts on the subject? We really like the prices they're offering and the floor plans are great, but we want to make sure we're making a good investment. Thank you, Cindy, for your question.
Yes, thank you, Cindy. New construction.
So my experience in that topic, she really brings out a great question here because it can be tricky. Mm-hmm. I try to tell folks that are moving into a new environment or where they're building new homes, whether there's brand new development or one that's been going on for a while, is hopefully you can imagine yourself living there throughout the construction phase.
Sure, yeah.
What you don't want to do is find yourself competing with new construction because, let's face it, you just went out and bought a new truck, right? You don't want a used truck. A lot of folks would rather have a brand new home than an existing home. I've got some clients that are closing this week I asked him because he didn't understand the process of buying an existing home. And I said, you've only bought new ones, haven't you, over your years? And
sure.
He said, that's all we've ever done because that's what we want to do. So in his case, they're done building single-family homes, so that's not a bad thing. But in a case of going right into a brand new neighborhood that's just getting started, yes, the builders will offer some incentives because they want to prime the pump. They want to get things rolling. Is it a great investment? My answer to that would simply be, hopefully you can imagine yourself living there throughout that whole build-up phase, because part of it is, you don't want to compete with new construction. Part of it is you don't know what type of product may be finishing that development as well.
Sure, I've experienced that.
Have you?
For sure, yeah, I have. Hey, so we are going to take a quick break, though, because this is a really good topic, and you hit a nerve. Yeah, I'm excited to share for sure. But thank you so much for tuning in. You've been listening to the Talk of Music City Real Estate.
SuperTalk 99.7 WTN, the talk of Music City Real Estate,
where we educate and motivate all things real estate.
Monte Mohr here with Realty One Group Music City.
Yes, and Carey Ann with CMG Financial and my mortgage team, and welcome back.
I'm sitting on the edge of my seat wanting to hear about your experience about this new construction situation, Kate.
Yes, so there was a great new subdivision that came. I won't say the town or where, but we were purchasing brand new. We were at the eighth house.
Kind of like Cindy's situation.
Yeah, we were at the eighth house, but we were purchasing at that time where the market was shifting. Mm-hmm. But again, when you create a development, you're not expecting the market to shift, right?
No.
And I had full intentions, and to build a home, it usually takes 6 to 9 months sometimes.
Right.
Others, do it a little faster. But a quality home, I remember the ARB was so strict in this neighborhood.
ARB, can you explain that?
Well, the architectural board, right? Where the gutters had to look a certain way. I think we went through 4 or 5 front doors before it got approved, right? Mm-hmm. So the look and feel of the homes had to be just a certain level, right? Mm-hmm. And so the price, because of those things, inched up a little bit. Mm-hmm. And so the neighborhood started growing. Again, purchased it at January of 2008. Things started shifting. It was a mixed use neighborhood where it had condos, single family homes, and had great potential. We're going to expect commercial, so I bought into the whole idea of what it was to be, right? And I think a lot of us did, and I still feel that it could have possibly, maybe the timing, was a little off with everything.
If that was started right now, I know which development you're talking about. If that was kicked off right now, if you were doing that right now, I think it'd been a whole other story.
Right. I think that the timing's there. But again, so purchased, the quality of my home is one that is, and I think 3 or 4 of the builders that started that were really high-end builders went under, right, or didn't make it at the time. It had to sell out, and larger builders, and this was the time of that shift, right? So those larger production builders were coming in. The mom and pop builders that really took so much quality, or so, just the thought process and everything was on point. So the larger production builders are great, but again, they're there to produce a product and produce it quick and help the masses, right? And so you all of a sudden, at a price that was hard to compete with, right? And so what I purchased and what the house was worth after a couple years was a little different. And so it did take 9 years to come back full circle, and again, we loved the house when living there. Aubrey was born and raised there for a few of her years before we moved. But again, when looking to sell that property, the quality that was down the street was not the same quality. They did not care what front door was going in down the street. The gutters were the gutters, and it just was what it was, right? The bath, what is it when you get certain upgrades or just the regular bath set, your shower and your tub, or just what it was, that quality right there was just a step down, so.
And that's the challenge that I've seen over the years as well, is that, and that's why, and during that same time, there were a lot of neighborhoods that stopped, the developing of that. Maybe they had a minimum of 2,400 square feet and they had a side entry garage and they were completely brick, and they shifted, or maybe in some cases sold to another builder.
Sure.
And now suddenly the 2,300 square feet is now 1,800 square feet. The side entry garage is now a front entry garage. The full brick is now maybe only one side brick, if two at the most, because you can almost go down the neighborhood and see where that, almost like the rings of a tree. You can see where the age changed, the year that home was built changed because of economic conditions.
And I think, when you have a neighborhood that is full with so many different folks that are building, maybe makes it difficult, because what if that one person does go under, right? You no longer have that ability, and somebody's got to be there to pick up the pieces.
Right.
And so when you go into neighborhoods now where maybe there's three particular builders, it might make it a little bit more, the feel and look and all of it, the quality of the homes are all going to be the same across the board,
More consistent anyway.
More consistent, for sure. But, I see many families, they buy at the beginning, they're comfortable with the chaos of new construction all around them for a period of time, and they do come out on the other end with a lot of profit. But, I work with a great builder who made it through the bad times and the good times.
I know that builder. He's a good builder.
Yeah, and he's quality, and I'm excited. I want to be sure to have him come on here and help share all that he knows on new construction. But, their price points, even when they start a neighborhood, when we start, even within the year, sometimes those price points inch up because the demand, the quality, the
materials
excitement
cost so much.
Right, and also the materials.
There can be a weather situation across the country somewhere else, and all of a sudden, sheetrock is more expensive, or lumber is more expensive, or whatever.
Right. And so you can just see the people that wrote those contracts right at the beginning automatically have equity, is what I was getting at, right when they're ready to close. We're seeing some of these appraisals appraising for more, than the price point that they wrote on their contract. So that's exciting for them, for sure.
So let's talk about the financing part of a new construction. How does that work? Can somebody lock a rate in, for instance, for a period of time? I mean, knowing that a home build is at least 4 months, isn't it? I mean, what is the average out there?
Yeah, so what I'm learning, they could probably build a home faster than they're allowed because of codes and inspections and having to deal with the city and the county, et cetera.
Right.
So there's a lot of folks out there that are so talented and can build, but you're probably looking close to that 6 to 8 month period, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe a 4 to 6 months, just depending. But I see a 6 month period. I've seen some that have gone, depending on the type of home, have gone 9 months, even further. And again, it's not because of the builder, it's because of the city and the county and inspections and codes, et cetera, that they're waiting on. But the process is very similar to when you purchase a resale. However, you're usually doing a start to finish within 45 days. We average less than that. But again, the average time from beginning to end is around 45 days. When you're looking to lock in your interest rate, the lenders will talk to you about different options. So you have a 20-day, a 30-day, a 45-day, 90-day. We do allow for extended lock-in periods all the way up to 180 days. So that's a 6-month period. But understand the longer that you lock your interest rate in, sometimes the higher the rate, right? Because there's a cost associated with
cost of money is the cost of money.
Correct. So sometimes if the market is strong and we see the reports that maybe we're going to be trending in a neutral section or even going down, we may wait and watch the market with the customer. But again, it is important that if you do communicate to the lender that you want to lock in, you get that in writing, and you work through that whole process. But we never want to discourage anybody from locking in, but understand that you do want to get the correct information on the upfront.
Right.
What's the cost to do that? Some people say, oh, the going rate is such and such. I want to lock that in, for 6 months. And that's not sometimes the case.
So if I was that person that just doesn't like the variables or the unknown, and I knew it was going to take 6 months to build this home, what would be the price to lock that in for that long, or can you?
Right. So rates, again, just to kind of circle back from previous shows, interest rates are based upon credit scores, down payment, type of loan that you're doing. So the cost, it's not just for 30 days, it's going to cost you this. It is a whole story that we need to make sure. But, talking to a lender and talking through that is something that you would want to do to get the exact specifics on.
So everyone's different.
Everything's a little bit different.
I got you.
Yeah, for sure. But again, remember, credit reports are only good for 4 months, right? 120 days. So if you're looking to buy that home, that's going to, take 180 days to build, the lender's going to have to re-pull that credit. So there are some things within a new construction type of process that we do a little bit different than the resale, right? You're not usually re-pulling a credit report during the process of a resale home, but you'll notice that credit will have to be re-pulled. So making sure that the lender's not doing that at the last minute, right? Making sure that you have that pulled. Usually we focus on giving ourselves about 60-day window before we have to close for the just in case, because life happens, that medical collection popped up you didn't know about, or, there was a minor delinquency with a child not paying on a co-signed loan type of thing. So you want to make sure that we get all of the information up front so there's time to boost that score just in case. Again, the higher the score, the better the rate. So when we're talking about locking in that interest rate, you want to, make sure all of that is taken care of. Keep in mind, if you do lock your rate in and it's based upon the credit score of the that you pulled initially, but then they have to re-pull it, that rate could change. Again, it's going to go off that same day's pricing, but again, your rate could shift due to the new credit score. So just keep that in mind as well.
Either way, it could shift down or up.
Right, exactly. If it boosts up, exactly. If your credit score improves, so we can just keep talking about new construction.
Yeah, no, this is a great topic, and I think people do have overall a lot of questions about the process. It's a little different than buying an existing home. You know what you're buying when you have an existing home. You can control a few more things when you're building brand new.
Yeah, absolutely.
Variables there you can.
Well, let's keep the conversation going about new construction, because I know there's a couple more little tidbits we want to talk about. But thank you so much for tuning in here. We're going to continue the talk. When we come back, you've been listening to the talk of Music City Real Estate.
SuperTalk 99.7 WTN, the talk of Music City Real Estate.
Where we educate and motivate all things real estate.
Monte Mohr here with Realty One Group Music City.
Hey, and Carey Ann with CMG Financial and my mortgage team, and we're talking new construction.
Everything new construction. I love this conversation, Carey Ann, because a lot of folks don't know the intricacies of this process and how long it takes and all the things to consider when it comes to financing, how things can change, and just managing the expectations overall seems to me like it's a pretty big job sometimes.
It is, because life happens.
Right.
And sometimes life happens faster, or things occur we don't want them to, right? Or they're unexpected.
Well, it's like
blips in life, right?
It's like your first desire of let's sell this, or let's close this thing tomorrow, because of those variables that happen. You don't have that choice when you're dealing with new construction.
No, we don't. And again, you're expecting sometimes that contract says you're going to close in June, let's say, or July, and now it's September, and we're not yet closed, right? Because the city or the county just just didn't work with the builder, and so we've been dealing with that a lot. So there's a lot of emotion that goes with new construction because you really want that home and you can't get it. And what if you need housing, right?
Yeah, and before I forget, I'm not saying I forget everything, but my capacity is not what it used to be. I guess I'm saying. So it kind of gets on my case sometimes about this because if a thought flies by, I've got to grab it while it's there, no matter who I'm interrupting. But and now I forgot what
it's
I was
only
going to say.
That's okay. No, you've lost it. No. But what I wanted to say was regarding that new construction situation. Okay, a lot of folks don't think you should bother to get a home inspection. This is so wrong, and the thing that hit it was when you're running a month or 2 months or 3 months behind, and you're just anxious to get in the house, okay? And I've seen people say, well, I don't care about the inspection, I just want to get into the house. I think we're going to see in a few years, we're going to see the repercussions of that because they couldn't keep up with the construction, they couldn't keep up with the demand, rather. And it was hard for good builders to keep good help in place because of all the things happening downtown Nashville and so forth. But anyway, I just want to stress, I want to underline, I want to encourage, I want to remind people, always get a home inspection, no matter if it's brand new construction or not. And the theory there is, well, I've got a 1-year warranty. Please remember, folks, that whatever condition that you allow your home to be in when you buy it, you're going to inherit that. After a year, that builder is probably not going to come back and take care of those issues. And I've seen some homes are built by human beings. Sure. They
can make mistakes. I've seen some pretty big ones over the years, and I've seen some mistakes that could have been taken care of by the builder, the original builder, if they had just been flagged, but they weren't.
I see.
So always get a home inspection. I don't care if you've got a warranty or not on it.
That makes sense. That's good because we see that a lot. We're also going to get an appraisal done on the property and make sure that the appraisal comes in. So sometimes with new construction, it's like going into a candy store. You go do your options, right? And that's so much fun.
Oh, it's so hard.
I'm like, I want that and I want that and I want that. And it's so exciting. And all of a sudden, my base price was blank. Now is jumped up, right?
And each item's only an extra $500, so how much could that affect?
But then 20 times that, right?
Right.
And so we see this a lot, depending upon the age group. Some folks that think this might be their last particular home or they want to retire in it, might get a little carried away. They want the elevator, they want this, they want that, within the home. And then you've got the other side of the coin here where it's maybe a new first-time home buyer, but they're still excited. They want that granite. They want this. So sometimes all of your wants, needs, and likes don't allow for that appraisal to still come in, right? And so you're going to see that the builder is going to protect he or she and you and make sure that those costs are covered on the upfront. So usually you may see that the builder collects builder deposits, right? Where it's upgraded deposits. So you're basically paying cash for those upgrades just in case that the appraisal does not come in.
Right.
Usually you want to make sure that you increase your price to see how much the house could truly appraise for, and then you can bring in the difference. But all the monies that you give the builder, whether that's earnest money or builder deposits, you want to make sure that those are sourced and seasoned funds. You don't want to pull that off of a credit card. You don't want to pull that from mom or dad without knowing that the lender's probably going to come back and ask you for more documentation. So we always encourage and stress that all of those funds are sourced and seasoned because the lender is, if to give you credit for those funds given to the builder on day one, 6 months from now, they're going to want to show proof that it cleared from one of your particular accounts, right? So that documentation.
Even new construction, you've got to be that cautious on that part.
Yes, because they're going to want to, if you want credit for those, right? So if you've given 3% upfront or $5,000 or whatever the requirement is to get the kickoff of that new construction home started, you're going to, and you want credit for that. The lender's going to ask for proof of that, proof of where those funds came from.
Wow, I didn't realize that with new construction because of that window of time, that 6 months. I would have thought that was enough seasoning, but you still have to show that it was seasoned before it ever got to that point.
Right, because if it is your down payment, right, it may have come directly. Maybe the check was written from mom or dad directly. I've had situations where it came off of a credit card, and now you're backpedaling and trying to find a solution to figure out a way to still get that approved. So just know that the builder's probably going to ask you for down payment money, earnest money, similar to when you write a regular contract, but sometimes it's a little bit more because, again, they are putting it in place where, they're taking the chance on you, right? That you're going to want to, have this home by the end of it. With these particular selections, they may ask you to write upgrade check too.
On that topic, I know this is aside, this is not on the same overall topic we're talking about here, but you mentioned something I think would be a good segue just for a second.
Sure.
And veer into...
He's always off-roading.
So what about this GoFundMe thing?
Yeah.
That scenario. And what I'm saying is if somebody didn't have the funds, they want to build new construction, they have that as an option that at wedding or whatever,
that's
they could get those funds and start that new construction.
Yeah, so what he's talking about is GoFunded, actually, which is the crowdfunding platform, which we work with a lot of new construction buyers because that is perfect. You have time. But again, the builder initially is still going to ask you for an upfront fee, right, of some sort. It may be small. You may be able to negotiate that. But again, home funded is a perfect option for those folks that want to save their true down payment over the course of time. You can crowdfund that through your family, friends, church members, fraternity, sorority, friends, etc.
I just think it's an amazing tool that more and more people should know about.
Yeah, very similar to the other platforms that you see, which it's sometimes hard to get $1,000 or $2,000 from one individual, but maybe $50 from your friend here or $100 from somebody else. And again, like you referenced, the bridal registries are huge. They love this. Why register at a local department store when you can register at home, fund it, and save all that money for that new construction that's going to be built in 6 months.
And you can actually do it, ahead of time, I guess, and not just do it at that moment. But I've heard that the average gift is around $100, $150.
At a wedding, yeah.
At a wedding. And what if everybody channeled it to that opportunity? Suddenly you've got a nice sized down payment.
Absolutely. And it's one that is really making homeownership a reality for many folks right now.
Sorry for the side trip, but I just love that program. I think it makes so much sense.
Yeah, it is a good one. And again, it's for those that don't know, it's exclusive to CMG Financial.
That's what I thought.
You can check it out at homefunded.com. All the details are there. But it is a great product for anybody. You don't have to be a first-time home buyer. Anybody's able to use that. Again, it's a crowdfunding platform, and those funds can be used towards the down payment. There's no documentation for any gift documents or extra bank statements or anything like that. So
and
it's a
the
huge
full
win.
amount goes there.
The full amount. There's no transaction fees. You're right.
That's
Absolutely.
Incredible. That is incredible.
The money goes directly to the particular buyer. And we give you a profile. You're able to tell your story. You can put a video on there. You can send it through your social media platforms. There's a lot of great things that can be done with that.
What a great tool.
So again, going back to life, right? So you're employed today, maybe not so much tomorrow. So remember, or let's just say I've had this happen just a couple weeks ago where the client just got fed up with his job and he quit. And, because it's so emotional and you're so, frustrated at the time, you just are forgetting that you're buying a house and you're in a major legal contract, and you go and you quit your job. So what happens when that occurs, by the time you start the contract to the completion of a home? And so depending upon if you are in the same industry, it's very easy for you to begin a new job. The lender may ask you for new pay stubs. If you're someone that is working with us, we may just ask you for an offer letter on the new particular the new job. So if it's in the same line of work, an offer letter that's not contingent on anything extra would still work to allow for you to maintain the contract and continue to move forward. So we see that happen a lot. Or guess what? I forgot to tell everybody I was pregnant, which I'm not pregnant. But then all of a sudden, the house is delayed, right? My intention was to close on this new construction on a certain day. And now it's delayed and I'm ready to have, a little one here. And so now I'm on maternity leave. So sometimes that employer does not pay maternity leave and or your amount that you make today may not be the same amount during maternity leave. So that could change your approval status. So little things like that when we talk about thinking 2 steps ahead is so important because it's something so small like that with a small delay could change a lot of things.
Man, I don't know how you keep up with all those loose ends all the time. time. That's
because
incredible.
we can't ask if you're pregnant, right? And so it has to come up in conversation. Or we just recently found out that a co-signer just was supposed to close last week. All of a sudden, gave birth to twins early. And so there's no income.
You can't ask if they're pregnant.
There's certain questions you can and cannot ask, right? Why would I come up and ask you if you're pregnant? That would.
Well, I mean, if it's a variable, I'd want to be coached by my mortgage person.
Right. It would just, so are you pregnant at this time, 44-year-old? It just seems like an odd question, but no, you cannot ask that question. But hey, so again, the process, like we referenced, is a little different on new construction versus resale. Remember credit scores, remember length of time, remember life can happen and those contracts can be delayed. Just be patient. Know that you're going to get an amazing product on the other side if you hang on sometimes.
Right. Well, it's great to have you in the control of that process because you know all the variables.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm always a believer, have a plan A and a plan B when it comes to new construction because life occurs and sometimes you got to jump to plan B.
That's right.
And I do that a lot when working with clients looking at new construction. So, hey, we're going to take a quick break. You've been listening to the Talk of Music City Real Estate. We're excited to have you come back.
SuperTalk 99.7 WTN, the Talk of Music City Real Estate.
Where we educate and motivate all things real estate.
This is Monte Mohr with Realty One Group Music City.
Hey, and Carey Ann with CMG Financial and my mortgage team, and we are back.
I'm feeling educated and motivated with these last few topics. I'm telling you, I love it.
Hey, and just to wrap up on our new construction, Middle Tennessee is so lucky to have so many amazing builders.
Truly are.
There is a great association here locally, and they study their craft, and they're just top notch. So we're in good hands with a lot of builders here locally. So
Absolutely.
for sure. But we've got another question we want to go into, right? It's Allison. It's from Allison, excuse me.
Yes, and before we do that, we want to make sure everybody remembers to send their questions in to talkmusiccity.com. That's questions at talkmusiccity.com or hashtag #TalkMusicCity.
Yes, absolutely. And if you want to check us out live in person, I think we're recorded.
You'll want to do that.
You can check our Facebook
free.
page.
Last I heard it was free.
Yes, you can see we're here. We're here. So our Facebook page is the Talk of Music City Real Estate Podcast. So everything is there. We're also on iTunes, so you can subscribe there. Stitcher, yeah.
Google Music Podcast.
Everywhere.
Is that true, Jim?
Everywhere and anywhere.
Wow.
I love it.
Shout out to Mr. Jim McCarthy.
Yes.
The man behind the voice.
He is. He's a huge support, and we could not do this without him. So thank you, Jim, for being here and educating and motivating us all things radio. I love that.
So back to Allison's question.
Allison, yes. So Allison's question here. So we are listing my mother's home this week and do not want her to have to do any repairs for the buyer. I suggested listing it with the understanding that it is an as-is property, but my real estate agent doesn't think that that's a good idea. We've been watching your podcast, and it seems like you guys know a lot about selling and buying homes, so we wanted to ask you, what's wrong with selling our home and not having to get nitpicked over repairs? My mom does not have any extra money to get these fixed. What are your thoughts? Thank you, Allison, and from Smyrna.
Great question, Allison. Thank you for that. And it really is a question that we hear of a lot of times because it is frustrating to be nitpicked and say, well, the thing that people forget is that, and here's the core of it. Little quick pedal here is that when the inspector comes in, the inspector wants to stay out of court, so he has to list everything. Okay. So if he's listing everything, including the door that doesn't latch just right, or the downspout that needs an extension, or all these little things that really don't cost a whole lot.
Sure.
But if he doesn't, then he can be considered in the line of fire when something's not working properly.
Oh, right.
The challenge is so many of our agents out there right now are new to the industry and they're not sure about how to manage expectations.
Okay.
And so they lose sight of the fact that, look, really, let's focus on what matters most. Let's focus on the things like structural or safety or functional, those kind of things. And they turn around and then hand an experienced agent that entire list of 89 different little things, okay, which doesn't create a great rapport between buyer and seller. So on the other hand, though, what they're wanting to do here because of that concern or fear, wanting to sell a house as is, when sometimes in my experience, what I've seen, Carey Ann, is when somebody advertises something in its as is condition,
it's ugly.
Well, it could be ugly.
With a capital U.
It could be ugly. It could have those Harvest Gold appliances. Or it could be, they could interpret that, okay, the owner knows about something that I don't.
It's hidden.
It might be a hidden defect.
Ooh, right.
And so, which is another topic we're going to get into sometime as far as disclosure, because that's, what does a seller have to disclose? That's a whole other topic. But anyway, so I'm always of the opinion that we should discourage our sellers from, on the front end, saying, well, I'm selling this in as is condition. It's something that I would rather negotiate at the back end. I'd rather say, well, we're going to accept your offer at this price, but that means we're not doing any more than $500 worth of repairs, or we're not going to do any repairs, or whatever. But you haven't scared away potential buyers because of the as-is thing, or maybe somebody who hasn't embraced the idea that I know you could take care of with a renovation loan.
Yeah, absolutely. Renovation is one that is here to help. If you have a listing, that you are marketing that is needs a little TLC. So the renovation, whether that's a 203K loan or a home style loan, one's a government loan, one's a conventional type of loan. But that is one that the buyer can, get approved for and go ahead and do all of the things that they want, and make it look just the way that they want, right?
So is that process pretty seamless? I mean, it sounds to me like it might be laborious. I mean, because it's got to certainly require more management of the process.
Sure. Well, the TV shows that we watch on Sunday mornings sometimes make us think that we can do all those renovations ourselves, right? But when it comes to the loans, they are required to have a general contractor assigned.
Okay.
And so you do have to now have a third party. So sometimes it is delayed because we're not waiting just on you. We're waiting on a third party to create bids and to go through that. And if you're looking at doing a government type of renovation loan, a 203K loan, it may be that a HUD consultant needs to be involved. So, if you and I are normally closing a loan in 30 days, this may take 45 to 60 days just for the just in case and the extra work involved. But you could possibly still get into that house with 3.5% or 5% down with the renovation cost incled.
Even with the renovation.
Yeah, it is a good option. When it comes to houses, you'll probably see sometimes that. Well, I find some buyers are truly FHA buyers, but they fall in love with this particular house and they do not understand why it lists in the comment section cash or conventional, right? And so basically that really means that house has probably already gone through the process of knowing that there are way too many FHA repairs that are going to be required, right, on the upfront.
Might need a roof, or the trim might be peeling, or the windows might be shot, that kind of stuff.
And or like we were referencing here with Allison, a family member or the person that's selling may be a little older who just doesn't have the extra cash to do those repairs, right? And so what we've done in the past is we've worked out some arrangements with some handymen, handy gals, right, who go in there and are comfortable getting paid at the time of close, right? You work that relationship out, and if you've got good enough relationships and you know that it's truly going to close, they're probably more apt to help you, and so they're going to get their money and their paid receipt at the time that home does sell, because the equity is what's going to pay their time and effort. So that is something that you can think about as well. But again, selling a house as is, I like to do that because I just don't want to, I'm not going to do any repairs.
I get the reasons for it. I just would hold that and through the negotiations rather than market it, that this home is being sold as an as-is condition.
I went through this process just recently about, do you have a finance contingency? Do you have an inspection contingency? Do you have an appraisal contingency? And as a seller, I'm like, well, yay. And no and no, I'm selling the property the way it is, and I don't care if it doesn't appraise, because, this is just how, this is a normal seller sometimes, that you guys love as agents. You love us. So we're like, okay, calm down. Those are normal, those are normal things that we go through the process. But what I was reminded is, as you get through the inspection period, that is the time where I can say, I do want to do the repairs or I don't. I do want to lower the price or I don't. In lieu of repairs, I'll offer closing cost or I don't, right? And then if the house doesn't appraise, I can choose to say, this is what I want to sell the home for, so you pay it or not, or,
we put it back on the market.
Put it back on the market, or we renegotiate at that point, right? So, I've learned that you're right. There are some milestones, but you can speed those processes up, can't you?
You can.
Yeah, which I'd like to do. I want to know those answers quickly. Again, I'm one of those sellers that
I got a feeling that I wouldn't want to sell your home.
No,
I'm not sure that I want to represent you, because you'd be one of those sellers.
I am that seller
that expects that, is sure that the whole world is revolving around
me. Yes, absolutely. It's so funny because I would expect, from my buyer, I always try to train on, when a buyer calls, their expectations are high. They should be. If I was that buyer, my expectations would be high as well, right? And so as a seller, I probably are aiming for the stars, but that's why I don't work with anybody too close for comfort, because they don't want to see the true colors. Because if I'm a driver, when it comes to what I do every day, I'm probably the similar, in my household, and also when it comes to selling or buying real estate too. So good stuff. But yes, renovations are one that help a lot of families, help sell the property, right? Create enough curiosity with that marketing. Allows also somebody to buy a home that has great bones but needs, that TLC, and can really get you approved quickly. So we talked about some really good things today.
It's once again really awesome to see you today, Carey Ann. I love this opportunity. I learned so much listening to you to share all these intricacies about financing. I'm so grateful for this opportunity.
Yes, and we're going to be moving here into May. What do they say? April showers bring May flowers.
Yes.
Check it out. And also bring my sister turning 40. So happy early birthday to my younger sister. Yes. And we're going to be headed here to Chicago in no time. But thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in on this Sunday evening. We just love having all of our listeners. Remember, questions@talkmusiccity.com is where you can send all your questions or topic suggestions. Hey, and you've been listening to the Talk of Music City Real Estate.